Hey everyone, welcome to Friday Know Your Gear number 56. 56. Wow. Before we get started, got a couple announcements. First, I just want to remind everybody that these live shows are also in podcast form. In other words, you can go to SoundCloud and download them or stream them, and also on iTunes. On SoundCloud, it's Know Your Gear. That's easy enough. And on iTunes, it's KYG Podcast. So either way, you can stream them or download them. So sometimes if you're thinking about watching this and it's a little long, you can do that as well. And so let's get started. We'll do our friends in a little bit. Let's get talking. How's it going? How's everybody's week? I see a bunch of you here already. That's awesome. And the week was fun, right? Seemed like it mostly was about John Mayer Strat, but I'm sure there was other things. Hey, Justin Mabe right there. Hey, what's up, buddy? Let's see. Guns and bullets, gas and bullets. I guess that makes more sense. Gas and bullets. How's it going? And all right. We'll do some questions. And I know I normally start it with the announcement of the friends of the channel that make this happen stuff, but I'm going to do that as we go through. I'll talk about that later, go through a bunch of stuff, and highlight a bunch of people. Josh is from Northern Ireland and he finally made it to the first live show. Well, welcome, Josh. I appreciate you hanging out with us today. I hope you have fun. I always have fun with them. Guitar Obsession says, hey, Phil, love the videos. Thank you, buddy. But it says, can you do a review for 68 Princeton? Yeah, I thought I did do a review of the Princeton versus my Super Champ. But if not, I'll do maybe not so much a review, but maybe talk about why I like it. I mean, that's essentially a review, but I understand what you mean. But maybe explain and what I did to it. Because I don't have any mods to it, but I took the frame out of it. So, and I can explain why I did that. The Blues Bunker says, don't like the John Mayer PRS Strat. Well, the Blues Bunker, you're not alone. There's a lot of people when it comes to the John Mayer Strat that didn't like it. I saw a lot of that. If you guys saw, I didn't really chime in on it. I really don't. I'm indifferent. I really don't care. It didn't, for me, I'm not a 7 1/4 radius fretboard person. That's not my preference. Experienced with setting them up, my experience with setting them up is every once in a while you get a magical one. Like basically, if you guys don't know what that is, think of it this way. All the early 50s era Stratocasters from Fender came with 7 1/4. It's kind of a round fretboard, not the neck, the fretboard. It's kind of round. And 9 1/2 is a little flatter, and 10's a little flatter, 12's a little flatter, 16, right? So, it just gets flatter. So it's not my preferred fretboard radius. And I would imagine, though, if PRS is doing it, it's going to be probably one of the best feeling 7 1/4s, because part of the magic of that radius is it's really hard to get dialed in a great action if the neck isn't perfectly, I don't want to say perfectly straight, but if the fretwork isn't perfect. And so I think PRS could pull that off. That being said, that's a big deterrent for me on the guitar, regardless of anything else. Other than that, it's just a Strat. I guess my confusion was the 594 is just a Les Paul. So this is just a Strat. It kind of makes sense to me that PRS, if they're going to copy a Les Paul, they'd copy a Strat. Everyone else has. It's almost like maybe you don't get your Luthery card if you don't copy a Strat. Maybe you can't, right? Maybe as a company, you're just not there. So, and on a side note too, I also hope that they eventually make an economy version. I'd like to see an SE of that. That's something I might be interested in. So, I'm not really, I don't think 2300 is ridiculous considering it's 2000 for a CE. And that's a 2-piece or 3-piece neck. And this is essentially a 1-piece neck. I mean, there's a couple of things that, I know it's like a Strat basically, but let's be honest, the guitars that it's competing with in the market are sitting in that price range or a little bit less, like at Fender's. To me, like if I would personally, again, obviously as a PRS fan, I'm a John Mayer fan. I think everybody who talks about this guitar says it first. I'm a John Mayer fan, I'm a PRS fan, and therefore everything I say next isn't going to be bad. No, I without a doubt, I would buy the American 60s reissue Strat. That's $2,000 right now before I'd buy the John Mayer Strat. I like the 60s era pickups. That Strat has it. That Strat has a 9 1/4 inch radius, which is a radius fretboard I prefer. It's got the Fender look, comes in the colors I like. I'd pick that, say $300 if given the choice. So there you go. But the truth is, I don't think they're gonna have any problem selling them. So I don't think. Earl Miller says, not a PRS fan, just saying. You know, that ties into this argument in which I have about this. Let's say, and this is a devil's advocate, let's say you're Paul Reed Smith and you make guitars, and that's actually true. He makes guitars, and you have exactly you, Earl, you're exactly the demographic I think this is designed for. It says, look, you're not into the PRS Custom 24. You're not into the PRS shapes. You're not into that vibe. They did a Les Paul 594 kind of thing, and they did the Strip 58, but mostly the 594 is kind of like a Les Paul kind of thing. And that maybe capture up those people out there that what I think this is always is it says, hey, look, we would like to build a product for you. Right. Obviously, in this case, they made it for John Mayer. But realistically, I think it's just like, how many people out there own Strats? How many people out there like Strats? Now, how many people like high-end Strats? It's a lot of people. So really just, you know, I'm sure when John Mayer's like, hey, let's make a Strat, they were like, yeah, that's something we could probably sell considering most of the people who have guitars have them. Right. So it seems to make sense. And from what I understand, and this is non-confirmed, when I say non-confirmed, I mean, it came from basically the PRS side of the business. They sold a ton of them. So they did really well. I heard a number like they sold 2,000 already or something like that. So again, that's just a approximation, but man, that's a lot. So let's see. Okay, so you know what? Here's a good one. Says Mr. McKnight, what wiring do you like for Strat? I don't have a tone control on my bridge, and I want to change that. What do you prefer? My personal preference for Strat wiring is to have the tone control, the first tone control, which is the furthest from the bridge, wired to the bridge, and then the second tone control wired to the neck and middle. That's the combo I like. That's the way my Strats with single coils are wired up. So. And the main reason is I very rarely, and so, you know, and my second best to that would be to wire it to the middle pickup. And the reason is I very rarely don't need to warm up the neck pickup. I'm trying to warm up the bridge. So that's why I like it that way. John Ritchie's like, can I have your EVH lunchbox? You know what? I forgot that's there. I put it there and then I'm like, yeah, I'm like, where did that come up? Oh, it's right there. You know, I love my lunchbox, EVH a lot. It's kind of like my main little fun metal amp for sure. Jake says, are you going to review the Tremonti amp? I would really, really like to review the Tremonti amp. I'm hoping I would be able to make an arrangement to borrow one from PRS. The problem right now is it's hard to reach out to anyone, a store or PRS or anybody, and say, hey, can I borrow one for review? As much as I'm sure, you know, they wouldn't mind doing that, they got to meet demand when they come out. So I think it's gonna be a little tricky to get one up front. And normally how I get one when stuff first comes out is I buy it, just like you guys. And I don't know if I'm going to buy one. And I think this has come up many times. I think that's probably of any amp ever that's ever come out. I think I've been asked that so many times, are you going to buy one? And I think it makes sense because obviously I'm a PRS fan. You know, I like Tremonti. You know, it seems like an amp I would buy. And the main thing is I have an Archon, a 25-watt combo that I really, really like. And I'm afraid that if I get the Tremonti, all I'm really going to do is exchange out my combo for a head version. Does that make sense? If you guys have ever experienced this, maybe you'll understand. I think I paid $1,200 for the Archon 25 combo. I might have got it for $1,000. I just know they're normally like 13 or something like that, or 14. I didn't pay, you know, street. And so my point is, used, I think it's worth $8. So if I sell it, I would have took. So let's say I paid 12, right? I'm going to lose $400, and then I got to buy a Tremonti for $650, $700. So I just, you know, I mean, sometimes it's not very exciting and it's almost like a lateral change. I don't think there's going to be a big difference between the Archon 25-watt combo and the Tremonti head, other than it's a head. And right now, when I don't feel like running the combo, I just run it out into a bigger cabinet. So that's my main thing. Oh, Dave's got a good question. Hey, Phil, how is the San Dimas holding up? I'm on the fence between the Charvel and the Fender Special Strat. You know, Dave, I sold my San Dimas Charvel, and I sold it to a good friend. And I will say this, it's one of those guitars I regret. I have looked and looked, and the problem I had was that one was perfect. I picked that out of a bunch, and it was a perfect weight. Everything was about it was perfect. The neck felt great. It was really the one, and I don't know why I got rid of it. It made no sense. And I'll be honest. The logic I had when I got rid of it was because it's that Road Flare red, that orange, and I got rid of it because I had an Ibanez the same color, and I just felt kind of like, oh, I have two guitars the same color. They're really essentially, and I wasn't really playing either that much. This goes to that saying I say all the time. Sometimes I tell myself, if I'm not using it, I should get rid of it. And what I've learned from my experience is you shouldn't get rid of it unless you don't like it. So if you like it, even if you're not using it, maybe hold on to it because it'll come back to haunt you later. My argument is always simple. I don't know about you guys, but me, I've been put in a position in my life many times where I've had to sell gear, because I didn't want to. Let's just put it that way, right? Tough times. So my argument is that at some point, I always assume there'll be a situation where you'll have to maybe sell this stuff. It's just it's a real. I think everybody who has a normal line income understands what I mean by that. Hey, something can happen, right? The kids could need something, the car could break something, and I'm like, maybe you sell off a guitar or two. And I've learned I need to stop when I try to get rid of something. Unless I need to get rid of it, don't get rid of it because I can't get it back as good. So I really miss that Charvel. So what I'm trying to say is if you're thinking about getting one, I would recommend it. Robert Davidson did a super chat. Wow, man, for $50. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. That's awesome, man. And if you have a question or anything, you just let me know. Or if you need a back massage or a high five, anything, maybe the high five would be better. Okay, so another great question, but I feel horrible because I can't pronounce the name. I'm not even going to try, okay? But you'll understand it because I got your question. It says, hey, Phil, love the videos. Would you rather have many different affordable guitars or a couple expensive guitars? Now, what I like about this question is this. Affordable guitars and expensive guitars are a perception. They're not a reality. And I might get in trouble for this comment. Right now, I can see you guys unsubscribing as I talk. What I mean by that is, some people's going to say a $500 guitar is expensive. Some people are going to say a $5,000 guitar. Expensive is means. It's what you have the ability to buy and what you're comfortable with buying with. Okay, so everybody's going to have different standards of that. That's basically what I'm getting to. Especially since all of this is a luxury item. Keep this in mind. Nobody needs anything. $100 guitar is still a luxury item because we don't need it. It's not a physical need like, maybe, a refrigerator. Okay, so why I say that is that obviously I'm just pre-setting up the fact that I would rather have more expensive affordable guitars than a few expensive guitars. And I want to say that because that's a perception. So what I mean by that is if you give me the choice of having, let's say, 5 $1,000 guitars or one $5,000 guitar, I would pick the 5 $1,000 guitars. Though consistency in this is I would probably continue that logic down to a good point. So in other words, if you said, would you rather have one $2,500 guitar or 5 $500 guitars? I would pick 5 $500 guitars. And this would go down until a certain point. And then you go, hey, would you rather have one $500 guitar or 5 $100 guitars? Then I would flip on you and say, yeah, I would rather have the one $500 guitar because I have a perception of that quality and expense. So to answer your question, in almost every category, I would stick with more more affordable guitars than a few expensive ones. So that's the given idea. And I think I've never said this before, but it's probably something worth noting. It only came up because I was talking to another YouTuber and he was saying, he talked about this. I've never spent, and this is always, everybody's got a different philosophy on this. I've never spent more than $2,500. Well, yeah, that's my high. $2,500 is the most I've ever spent on a guitar. So that's where I've freaked out. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of money. And so, I'm not saying I've spent many guitars $2,500. I'm just saying I've never spent more than that. That's where I freak out. And to be honest with you, that's an extreme for me. Really, anything as we cross $1,500, I get pretty nervous pretty fast. I'm not as interested. Okay. Hey, Mike says, get a Marshall fridge and you'll change your mind. Ah, yes, the Marshall fridge. When it came out, I wanted one. I just never got one. I think I said this before. It's because I had a black fridge exactly like that, but without the cool facade, the Marshall facade. And I think I bought it for like $100 new. And I think we gave it away or I sold it for 20 bucks. I don't know. Anyways, my wife, when I said, oh, look at the fridge, she goes, didn't you just get rid of a fridge just like that? And so that pretty much killed that. I couldn't come up with a justification for it. Okay. What else we got going on? Now, basically, Jeremy says, yeah, I'm eyeballing a 2-note LE clean as well. Okay, so this is a conversation we're having. I'm just kind of jumping in on it. I play church and silent stage. Okay, I got to try the 2 notes, those preamp pedals at Guitcon, and if you're going to use them for church, they are definitely cool. You can line them out to the PA or even use some IRs like an IR pedal. So, I mean, I know kind of jumped in that, but it's just my 2 cents. Okay. Man, it's an impossible question. Jonathan wants to know, what is the most awesome guitar I've ever used? Awesome guitar. I'm trying to think of a guitar that, that I touched that I just could never touch again because it was so great. I don't know. There's nothing really the most awesome guitar. There's no guitar I've ever picked up that I was like, this guitar is so amazing, nothing will come close to it. They're just guitars that I personally found I like a lot. So sadly enough, I think it's just my copper Strat and my Mira. I just really like them. I know that's kind of I was hoping to have a better answer than that. I was trying right now when you're thinking of your question, trying to think of like all of the unique guitars I've done setups on, because sometimes, you know what though? I'll tell you one guitar here that sticks out with me is I once did a setup. I had a customer who loved tellies, man. This guy, I've never seen anything like it. He must have had 30 tellies, but every kind of crazy telly, like custom shop Fender, regular Fenders, G&Ls, and exotic, like every small luthier in the country that made a telly type, he had them. And one of the tellies that I really loved was a Crook telly. It was Paisley, like Brad Paisley's telly. It was Crook was a brand that Brad Paisley was using, and I remember when I got it for setup, because every time he'd bring me a crazy telly, I was excited, right? Because you got to check out something out crazy. And I remember that guitar being really, really good. And it's a very expensive guitar, and just something, I don't know how to get one. You know what I mean? Find one again to check it out. Let's see. So Neri wants to know, hey, Phil, what do you use as an overdrive pedal? Well, pedals for me are like a flavor of the week. I use whatever I kind of like. I'm really still using those Fender pedals. I'm using the Santa Ana and the Pugilist. Those are the 2 drives I'm really still excited about. So currently in my, not in here, but in the other room where I practice a lot, literally on the board right now is the Pugilist and the Santa Ana drive. And I have a Boss DD3 in the effects loop of the amp and a Boss RC1 looper. And then I'm using that Fender compression. So. Okay. IcePick19 says, is $900 too much for a used American double fat Strat hardtail? Well, first of all, hardtail Strats usually are hard to find. They're very hard to find. They don't make very many of them. And it seems to be a guitar that people get requested. At the shop, I will tell you this, for all the years doing Fender sales, that was the #1 requested thing. Like if I could say one thing that Fender customers were asking for readily was hardtail Strats. And Fender just for some reason isn't interested in doing them. I'm not sure why that is. So I don't think 900 it's too much. I mean, sadly enough, just a few years ago, you could find them for $6, but the market in play. I mean, with a new American Professional sitting at $1,400, just the market gets changed. I'd like to be in it for $8 if I was you, but I don't think if you paid $9, as long as you like it and it's good condition. But again, also anybody else weigh in too, because this is one of those things where it's really like community driven. In other words, everybody out there, let me know what you've seen them before, what you paid recently for them. So make a video for the DD3. I love that pedal. Alley Cat made that comment. I'll tell you a funny story. I use the DD3 for one reason and one reason only. Joe Bonamassa has a video out there where he was very early on in his career, where he was going through his pedal board. And he said the Boss DD3 just set all the knobs straight up, and it's great. And I don't really run it exactly like that, but it's pretty close. And it's just such an easy pedal to use. That's great. And you can pick them up used for $60 anywhere. And that's what he was saying. He's like, you can find them anywhere, like used at a Guitar Center or what have you. And then, oh, you know what? That might segue me into this. Let me share. Anyone's curious, since there's 800 of us, we bought a Chapman guitar last week. And what happened? Well, let's share. So this is my first, I should probably disclose this. This is my first guitar, new guitar at Guitar Center. So right now we're currently says that the estimated delivery from the Guitar Center is going to be Tuesday the next week. So I thought I'd share with that. So where are we at in the review? Well, here's where we're at in the review. We ordered it on Friday. I did put in the order on Friday. And before this video stopped last Friday, I received an email from Guitar Center saying they got my order. Then I got my next email from them was on the 6th, which I think was Tuesday, right? Let's look at the calendar because today's the 9th. Yes, so on this Tuesday the 6th, which was, now granted, we were late in the day on Friday, and their Saturday and Sunday were holiday, or a weekend. So basically, then Monday, then Tuesday. So it took them 2 business days and 4 days afterwards, but 2 of those business days, they sent me an email saying the guitar had shipped. What's strange about it is it shipped out of Florida. And I went online, and I know that they have a center, Guitar Center has a fulfillment center in California, like in Irvine, and then they have one in Indiana. And I loosely found where I thought it said Kansas too, but Indiana and California. So I could not find, and so you guys know, maybe you're better at this than me, I couldn't find where there's a distribution center, a fulfillment center in Florida, but that's where the guitar has been shipped from. So I don't know if that's because they have a center there in Florida, or is the Chapman guitar shipped somewhere different than Guitar Center? Maybe they're not at the Guitar Center. Again, I'm not alleging that. I'm just thinking. But either way, what I will tell you this is my very first new guitar purchase at Guitar Center. I have purchased in my entire life, I've purchased 3 used guitars from Guitar Center. And when I say 3 used guitars, I mean a bass and 2 guitars. And the bass and the bass and one of the guitars I immediately returned. So I got them and I didn't like them, but I kept one. The other one was my Schecter guitar, that purple Hellraiser. So being my first new purchase with Guitar Center, it really sucks because it's basically a week and a half later you get the guitar. And I understand that it's coming from Florida, but I'm far from Sweetwater too, and Sam Ash, and I seem to get products from them much faster. So I don't know if this is just isolated, or if it's the Chapman thing, or if it's just anything from Guitar Center. I don't know, but it seems like a week and a half is a pretty long time frame, to get something to you. But I just thought I'd give an update. I just don't want you guys thinking I'm not reviewing it or anything. Literally, as soon as I get the guitar, I am set up right now that once it arrives, I will unbox it and review it on the spot in one shot. You know what I mean? And then I'll upload that video. So we can get a first impressions view of what you're getting from Guitar Center and the Chapman guys with this Guitar Center arrangement. So there you go. All right. Oh, you know what? There's a good ties in. Alley Cat says, I like Musician Friend over Guitar Center. They are basically the same company, but I agree with you 100%. I like Musician's Friend over Guitar Center as well. Yeah, right. They own them, but yeah, I know they're connected, but they're kind of not connected, if that makes any sense. They're owned, but they don't operate the same. So, just because he's asking, Steve1222444 says, hey Phil, who's your favorite YouTuber? My favorite YouTuber is AVE. That's Alpha Victor Echo. So because he's Skookum is Frig. So for anybody that knows that channel, they'll know what I mean. By the way, I got Lawrence into him, and Lawrence Petros bought me a shirt. I was wearing it the other day. Too bad I wasn't wearing it today, but he's my favorite just because he's funny and he's interesting. So, okay. What do we got? Next interesting question. All right. Oh yeah, Steve says he never heard of the channel. Yeah, it's interesting to check out. It's not. He's got curse words, man. I'm just warning you. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, somebody's AVE is awesome. Yeah, the guy's awesome. It's one of those guys that when you watch it, you either hate it or you like it. But either way, he's been around. He's got a lot of subscribers. But he's not a guitar channel. He's a tool channel. So. Yeah, Kurt, good, Kurt. Kurt's saying, hey, I shopped online and in store at Guitar Center for years and no issues. Yeah, I bought used stuff off their website with little to no issues. So like I said, and this isn't a bad experience. I'm just saying this is slow. So I'm not sure. What I'm saying is exactly that. Since it's in Chapman's new to Guitar Center, I don't know because I've never bought a new guitar online from them, if this is the normal process or if it's longer because of the Chapman. That's what I'm basically trying to say. I just don't know. So we'll see. Joe did a super chat. Have you tried the valeton coral pedals? Verb mod delay. What are your thoughts? Need an honest opinion. I have not, but I will put it in the index so I can check them out. I'm curious, right? Especially I just played. My buddy Matt brought me over the Earthquaker Devices one. That's the mod. It's a delay and reverb, and it was really cool pedal. I really liked it. So, hold on a second. So, I'm really interested in these delay and reverb mixed pedals. I think it's really cool because I feel weird having to run two pedals in the effects loop to get reverb and delay. So having it in one spot, it makes it a little easier and more convenient. So okay. Again, I can't even try the name, but I can do the question. It says, do you like Chinese Gretsch Electromatics? What are your thoughts? I do. I have a Chinese Gretsch streamliner. It's not the Electromatic. I really like that. And I have played many of the Gretsch Electromatics that are made in China. And I believe, in my personal opinion, the ones I've touched in the last few years have been pretty good. In the past, there was not bad, but, kind of dodgy. But I think as a whole, China has kind of upped the game on guitars in the last 5 years, 10 years. And I think that when I say up the game, I mean, manufacturers are speccing higher standards for those guitars. So yeah, I've had no negative issues with them yet myself. So except for, and I just want to point this out because it's really across everybody. What I'm noticing though, with one thing, with all brands, is a lot of companies are using three-way switches. I feel like I've never seen so many three-way switches that don't work. I feel like almost every 3 guitars I touch now in the mid to low price point, the three-way switch doesn't work. So just thought I'd share that. Maybe it's just bad luck. So what's the blue Strat behind you? Alex wants to know. That is my American Standard Strat. And last week you probably saw it had 3 single coils, and now it has the 2 humbucker pickguard. I switched it to see what I thought again, and I missed the 3 single coils, so it'll go back. So I wire up a couple pickguards, and I can drop them in a Strat and see how I like it. I thought because I really like my copper with 2 humbuckers, I go, hey, might as well make the other one 2 humbuckers again. And really, no, the magic was back in single coils. So, but it's just an American Standard Strat, nothing fancy. Jans, I'm trying again, I can't say the name. Jansky Guitars and Bass says, hey, what do you think of European guitars and basses? I'm trying to think of European guitars and basses I've played, other than obviously, I have a German Warwick and I have a German Framus, and I love them. They are the best built instruments I own. That's again, and if you notice the terminology, I just want to be clear with the terminology. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm saying they're the best built. There's something about them. A good friend of mine who I trust, who works for Paul Reed Smith, when he handed my Framus, when he handled it, he said the same thing I did. He's like, wow, you could just really feel that the tolerances are tight and they really know how to build an instrument just really well. So yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I've tried from the EU, across this side, but I just can't think of any. Besides, just strange things over the years. Most of the stuff that I've played that's technically from Europe was Chinese or Korean, but owned by a European company. So I don't know if that counts, right? That'd be like saying, Schecter's a U.S. company, but the guitars are made in Korea. I don't know. I know they have U.S. guitars, but I haven't really tried any of the U.S. guitars. I've tried the Korean guitars. So, Brian says, are we going to get the Phil XG review? Phil texted me and said he wanted to come on the live show, and we're trying to work that out. So I'm trying to hold that off to when he comes on the live show. He was hoping that that I live somewhere on the tour line of where the next tour is, so he could probably stop in and just do the video here together, but I don't. So we're gonna have to go back to doing a dial-in thing. So let's see. H. Flynn says, how much was your Framus? It was insane. It was like, now I paid artist pricing, and I'm not allowed to disclose what that is. It has nothing to do with YouTube. No artist is allowed to disclose the pricing. That's the deal. So it's basically they give you a special price. It's like dealers aren't supposed to disclose their pricing as well. But what I can tell you is two things. What I paid in artist pricing was not cheap, so it was expensive, but not nearly as expensive as that guitar. That guitar has a crazy price tag on it. It's like $6,000 street or something like that. So I would never be able to buy that guitar if they didn't take care of me like that. So, but in all fairness to them and to myself, to give myself credit too, I had decided no matter what, I was getting it. So I really decided to do it, and I was going to break my rule about pricing. And they, out of the graciousness of them, said, we would like to take care of this price. So it was really good. So, and I understand now when people who say artist pricing say that. I understand why they say that now, because I get it. I'm sure rock stars paid a lot less than I pay. So no one wants anybody discussing what they paid as a discount. But yeah, there'd be no way I could afford. Let's start there. There's no way I could afford the guitar. Logically, what they really did for me, so you know, was I had every intention, if I had to pay the right price, which I was prepared to do, I knew it's 6 guitars I was getting rid of to get that. So because of that, I didn't have to get rid of them. So they kind of saved me on that. I really appreciate them. But it was the demo model at the show. So, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a custom made, kind of thing. So I bought off it's a custom made guitar. I just didn't get to spec it out. So, but that's fine. To get the deal, it was worth it. Laguna Palms did a super chat. Thanks. I appreciate that. Why are equalizers better than attenuators, and are volume pedals a good way to go? So, well, I think what you mean in that is like if you run an equalizer through the effects loop and kind of use it to push the amp down. I don't know if they're better. I prefer them sometimes. I have attenuators and I have EQ pedals, and I really prefer sometimes just using a pedal in the effects loop amp and using that as a master volume to bring the amp down, especially for quiet volume. And it's not because I'm afraid of attenuators damaging the amp. That's a question I get asked a lot too, is do attenuators damage amps? And everybody I've asked that does 2 amps, that builds 2 amps, because that's something I asked them, and everything I've experienced in my life says no. The only repercussion is, of course, you're running the amp hard. So it's like, even though it's quiet, it is running hot. So your tubes will burn up if they were running at that volume. So I hope that makes sense. So in other words, yeah, your amp's loud, so you're going to be running your tubes hotter. But I think I prefer an equalizer through the effects loop. But I plan to actually test that. So, I just ordered a used attenuator that I trust from Rivera. I got the Rivera Rock Crusher, and I want to do that, and I want to A/B it against that same kind of rig. And so in your next question, a volume pedal is the way to go. Yeah, you can use it. My experience, you can use a volume pedal in the effects loop as well. But I did that in that video where I talked about that. The EQ pedal sometimes helps fix the problem, which is sometimes when you use a volume in the effects loop amp to kind of bring the overall volume of the amp down, it thins out a little bit. So sometimes it's nice to have an EQ to fix that. So I'm going to try it because he did a super chat. Tukyushin. Man, I'm probably butchering your name. I apologize. Tokuchen. Thoughts on the Daddario. Sorry, we got the official on that now, right? Thoughts on the Daddario 2-way humidifier system. My apartment swings between 30% and 50% humidity. Do I need to humidify my solid body guitar? Also, any word on a single coil set neck guitars? Okay, 2 things. One, if you're running 30 to 50% humidity in your apartment, you should be close to fine. I mean, some guitar companies say 60% humidity. I don't think 30 to 50% humidity is dangerous. If that's what you're reading, right? I think you'd be fine. The 2-way humidifier system is really a good system, so I do like it a lot. Where I live in Arizona, it's dry, and I've sold a badillion Just made that word up. I've sold a bazillion humidifier systems. Let me tell you, if anyone's selling humidifiers, it's Arizona. Yes, and the two-way system is one of the ones I recommend the most. It's a really good system. And there's a lot of other systems. There's one by Oasis that's really good too. And I really like the Addario guy. So, to recommend another company is a big deal. So the Oasis, check out their system. I kind of like it a little bit more. So again, Oasis humidifier. And when I do the index, I'll put a link to their website. And what's nice about those systems is, in your case, it's add it if it needs it and don't if it doesn't. So in other words, if it doesn't need humidifier, if it doesn't need humidity, you don't have to worry about the humidifier doing anything. And then I know you had a question before about single coil guitars on Set Nex. The only ones that I've really seen, I'm trying to think, besides P90s is, like I said, Fender has, they don't make them anymore, but they have a FMT series Strat. You should look at that on Reverb. The FMT Fender Strat is a set neck guitar with single coils. They have an HH model, an HSS model, and I think an SSS model. So something to check out. And then somehow I lost, hold on, let's see if I can scoop it. I lost the super chat somehow. What I don't understand is sometimes the super chats, it's like a video game. If I don't answer them fast enough, they go away. So I don't know where they go. If anyone knows where they go, let me know. If I do miss a super chat, what I will tell you guys is this. I check them afterwards, and I will answer them next week. Red Guy just did one. It says, you ever hear of the Del Rey Teisco Gold pickups? No, that sounds familiar. Del Rey Teisco pickups, like the Teisco guitars. So I'm going to say, yeah, I've heard of those Del Rey sound like it sounds like a pickup familiar to the Teisco line, but not specifically as being a pickup, like an individual separate brand, if that's the question. But something to check out for sure. Man, there's over 1,000 of us hanging out. So that's awesome. Yeah, see, someone just said you're over 1,000. Well, that's awesome, guys, hanging out. The next question says, what do you think of the HK right behind you? I hear some get a little fizzy on the high gain. You know what? I've had this amp now for a month and a half, checking out, going through it, and I really love everything about it except for it's a little fizzy, like you said. But what I've learned is this falls into a category amp. I think the Paul Reed Smith amps do it too. Certain amps give you more than you need. In other words, the gain, like you never need anything past 6, but they let you have 10. Right? And you just got to self-restraint, never go past 6. The Houston Kittner amp, for me, sounds amazing. In fact, because it has a boost built into it, I learned just never go past 5 or 6. And if you need more gain, hit the boost. Don't continue to do the gain, because it does. It kind of fizzes out. And Marshalls kind of do that too. You know what I mean? That fizz on the end. So to answer your question, yeah, there's a little bit of fizziness there, but I learned how to kind of dial it out. So that's why I've been spending some time with it. I just didn't want to do a, here it is. I want to actually be able to go, here's what I discovered about it, and here's what I learned to do to adjust it. And the main reason is because it is very unique amplifier, and the fact that it is loaded to bear with options. It is crazy how much stuff shoved into the thing. It almost defies logic how much stuff those guys shoved into that amp, right? And they gave me the pedal to check out with it. So I was like, okay, crazy, right? I can have this as long as I need it, because it's a B stock. They just sent me a B stock, return that's been refurbished, so I could check it out and review it. So we'll get there. Oh, cool, man. Thank you. Somebody just sent me the super chat I missed. It says, super chat I missed says, any thoughts on the PRS Silver Sky? Yeah, I talked about that at the very beginning, but we'll talk about it again real quick, since it's the hot thing. Let's do it. Let's do this. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about this, the Silver Sky. If you don't know what it is, it's a Strat. So it's a Strat. PRS has decided to make a John Mayer Strat. So let me give you some honest critiques. I talked about it in the beginning, so when you watch the replay, listen to what I say about it then. But I want to talk about a couple of things that I think are interesting about the guitar. When I say interesting, I mean interesting, strange, unusual. First thing is, the nut on the guitar to me is strange because they used a Fender style thin cut nut. And the reason I find that strange is, even though it's a Strat type guitar, you think Paul Reed Smith, because it's his neck, their neck, they would have kept the Paul Reed Smith style nut. So that's really interesting to me in the John Mayer way. Is like, did John Mayer really, does he notice that? Is that something I never paid attention to? I never really thought about, does a Strat nut feel different than this square cut nut that, Gibson and a PRS come with? So I thought that was strange. So that was one of the things I thought was different. A lot of people seem upset, right? In fact, it's probably the most upset I've seen people when it comes to a guitar. And I will tell you something that I thought was funny. Something I was told many years ago by a friend of mine who doesn't work at Fender anymore, but he worked as a product manager for Fender. And he said, almost jokingly, but very truthfully, he said, the thing about artists are, when an artist works with a company, eventually they'll make that company make them a Fender or a Gibson. So his argument was, if an artist goes to Schecter, eventually they'll convince Schecter to make a P bass or a Strat. And if they go to LTD, ESP, they'll eventually get them to make a Les Paul. Like, his joke was that everybody eventually makes this other company that makes something that they make a Fender or Gibson clone. And so when this happened, I thought, man, he must really know something, because this is another example of that. John Mayer went to PRS, they made him all these PRSs, and he had them make him a Strat. So now they have a Strat. And in all Paul Reed Smith's world, now there's officially a PRS Strat and a PRS Gibson. If you want a 594 PRS, that's a Gibson. And if you want the Silver Sky, you can have a Strat now. And so what's great is there's going to be some people out there that are just huge PRS fans. There's Fender fans, Gibson fans, Ibanez fans, insert your favorite brand now fans. And to them, they'd rather own a Strat made by PRS than a Gibson made by PRS and a PRS, right? It's just how it's going to go. Me personally, I would like to see, if they make an SE, what that's like. Because, again, I'm not a big fan of the 7/4 inch radius fretboard on the guitar. I haven't felt one yet. That's been one of the big arguments, is how can anyone critique something they haven't been able to touch yet? So I totally agree with that. 100% agree with that, actually. Other than the fact that I have actually touched it, because I've touched a Strat, and it's pretty much, that's a Strat. So I can generally understand what it's going to feel like, right? It's gonna, the David Tucker did a super chat. Kiesel Vador found, will you go 6, 7, or 8 string fan fret multi-scale? On the Vador, fund. I'm sorry, the Kiesel Vador fund. On the Kiesel Vador, thanks, man. I really appreciate that, David. On the Kiesel Vador, I'm definitely going 6 string, not fan fret. I think it would be fun to own a 7 string fan fret Vador. That would be like a cool, wow, what a cool guitar. But I'm afraid to add a guitar that's expensive to the collection that I'm not going to use. And so I think I'll use it more if it's more functional to me. And to me, it's really functional if I could take it everywhere. So I find myself, I take a guitar, if I'm away from my house for any length of time, more than 24 hours, I usually take a guitar with me. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but at some point, like if my wife would make me go to a friend's party and we know they're going to be there for like 6 hours, I'd bring a guitar. So now, just like a lot of times I didn't get to play it, but I still brought it just in case. It's like you always have that, like, well, in case it gets boring, go find a spot and play guitar. So let's see. What do we got for questions too? Any experience with the iron gear pickups? Haven't. I fancy the steam hammers, sorry. But don't want to buy a set. Just end up wanting bare knuckle pickups. Anyways, yeah, I haven't. There's so many pickups out there. It's impossible. In fact, what's tough is it's tough to try them because you got to install them and everything. So Bruce Bow says, Phil, what is the best amp for country music do I have? In my personal collection, if I was going to say, what's my country amp? I think it'd be my Supersonic right there. And the reason is not because it has a gain channel. It's just, I love my telly through that amp. It really has that bite. It has like that Lone Star Mesa Boogie sound. I know that's part of a more modern country kind of sound, but definitely that's if I'm going country sound, that's the country sound I'm going. It's more of the rock Garth Brooks country sound. So that amp does it for me for sure. In fact, I could probably tell you my Supersonic, I purchased that Supersonic right after I was at the Garth Brooks concert. In fact, I could probably, sadly enough, show you each thing I own, what concert made that purchase happen. I'm really a bad when it comes to concerts. I like going to concerts, but when I leave the concerts, it's just in my head. You know, right? Hey, that would be the coolest thing ever. I could pretend I'm Garth Brooks guitar player. I'm just kidding. Okay, I got a super chat. It says, Phil, what will be released first? Your review of the H&K or Pixie's review of the Viper one? The H&K for sure. For sure. So because I'm pretty much done with it. I think I started filming it this week. I did a lot of filming this week and didn't finish anything. And okay. And Harry Evans says, hey, Phil, when are you going to go visit the Kiesel factory? You know, I don't know. I have no plans to do that, but I'd like to. I've been thinking about taking a week. So let me run this idea by you guys. Tell me what you guys think. I'm thinking about, instead of going to Summer NAMM, and instead of doing some of these other things that I've done in the past, I'm actually thinking about doing something like a 1-week road trip, going to like California and hitting G&L and Kiesel and Seymour Duncan. You know, just go up to the north side of California and just come on down and hit as many things as I can, right? Maybe a couple interesting stores, a couple interesting places, and make a whole trip out of it and do that. And I think that would be fun. And I can make a lot of content and do some live streams, you know, right from my phone and ask you guys some questions. Like, what would you like to see? And I think that'd be cool. I think much better, much funner than walking up down the aisles of the Summer NAMM. That's what I'm thinking. Nathan Sanye says he's got Michael Nelson at Big Hairy Guitars has been doing tons of videos about the Ultimate Audio Direct Box attenuator. Any thoughts on it? Well, Michael Nelson's videos are fantastic. I mentioned him before. His videos are really fantastic. The Ultimate Attenuator. Yeah, I watched the video. I liked it. I like the aux. The aux is just $1,200. That's the thing. It's totally worth it, man. It's totally worth it. If you guys haven't seen the aux, which is an attenuators plus IR, it's just an amazing product. But it's $1,200, and I'll get there. Like I said, I know I'm going to eventually get one, just because the one I tried was so amazing. So it's just a lot more expensive than the attenuators I can find right now. I think the Rock Crusher, I found it for $350. So $350 is much difference than $12 for me right now. Oh, wow. Canon Lawrence says, hey, Phil, my first gig is tomorrow. Any advice on nerves, backup gear to bring? We play classic rock and psychedelic. You know, this is silly, right? But I'm going to say it. I say it to people no matter what they do, even if they have a booth at NAMM. Have fun, man. You got to have fun. And your nerves are going to get to you. But here's the problem. If you don't have fun, no one is going to have fun. And maybe I'm adding more pressure when I say that to people. But you understand, you're there so people can have fun. They lead by example, right? A lot of people tell you all this, you know, picture them in their underwear, do all that stuff. Just literally enjoy it. Every minute of it, especially because when you get on stage, it's going to go by in 5 seconds, no matter how long you're playing. It goes by fast. So just go up there and have fun. And if you can't have fun, fake it. Because again, they can't have fun if you're not having fun. So backup gear, you know, there's two philosophies on that I found. You know, always be thorough and try to remember every extra cable, every extra thing. But also what I've learned is always try to have a minimalist mentality of what you can run on. So just like, as long as I have my amp and this cable and the guitar, I can make that work. And then you bring the other stuff. And if anything's missing out of that, you can always go back to minimalist. And the number one thing I see, everybody thinks it's guitar cables. The number one thing I see everybody forgets is power cables. So always make sure you have your power cable for your amp. Some reason people forget those. Maybe it was a lot easier back in the day when the power cables were wired to the amps instead of now. And the reason is because even though at most places they'll have a power cable, somebody at another band or somebody, they're usually using them. So it gets a little tough. So, in fact, I can tell you right now, and this is no joke, I have a amp power cable in my car right now. It's in the little compartment where the spare tire is, just because of that. There's a couple other things. Sydney wants to know, is Guitcon happening this year? If so, when, and are you going? It is happening. It got pushed back, so it's in October this year, and I have not heard any of the official anything about it. So you know, I just don't know. I know it is happening. It is in October, and I am invited. So I mean, I don't have any intentions to not go. But I know there's some changes, so I'm just waiting to understand what's going on. And but seems cool, right? Izar21 says, Ibanez Jem Jr. in yellow, worth a buy from my first pointy guitar. I play mainly blues, but got a Charvel San Dimas HT recently. Otherwise, Ghost Fret, ? So, you know, the Jem Jr., if you want it, it's worth it because it's $606. It's the weirdest price, right? $666 street price. And I think you can find better deals than that on Reverb. At least I saw them. I think I saw them in the high fives, low sixes. Cool guitar. I like Ibanez, obviously. I have a bunch of Jems, so I like them as well. Me personally, I think the Charvel San Dimas HT is a nicer guitar. So you said you just got that. I don't think that you are going to get an improvement. They might be lateral. In other words, it might be the Jem Jr. I see could be equal to the San Dimas, but me personally playing both guitars, my experience with both is the San Dimas was a slightly better quality guitar in the way it fit and finished and sounded. So something to think about that. Otherwise, Ghost Fret, I don't know because I haven't got my Ghost Fret yet, but you know, maybe I would hold off and see. Maybe when I'll do, it's going to be next week because as soon as I get the Ghost Fret, the video will go up. It'll literally, when it shows up, like I said, when it shows up that day, I want to do the video fast enough to where it's exactly what I said it would be, a first impression of what happened. You know, what was the experience like? So I plan to do that as soon as the guitar gets here. It says it's slotted for the 13th, so you just got to wait till the 13th. So, because I'm not going to do a fancy edited review or anything. I'm just going to grab it, unbox it in front of the camera, do the thing. I'll probably only edit out the parts where I get up and turn on and off the camera, obviously. So, unless you guys don't care, and I'll leave that in. So, if you guys remember long enough, I don't know if any of you have been around long enough, but all my original videos was exactly that. I used to reach over and touch the on and off button on the camera, and that's how they were. So, maybe I'll do it again for old time's sakes. So, Bella Chi says, why are PRS guitars so addictive? You know what? I will tell you, there's actually, you're actually right. So there's a few brands, Taylor Guitars is one of them, that have what's considered, Taylor Guitars has one of the best brand loyalty, I should say the strongest brand loyalty of almost any guitar brand. There are certain brands that, just be honest, that's what they do. They sell you a guitar and they immediately make you a fan of buying more guitars. So, yeah, I don't know why they are addictive, but PRSs are addictive. When we used to sell a PRS to somebody, it was very rare that we did not sell another PRS to that same person. It was almost like chum in the water. Once when they bought one, they bought another. So and you could say that about a lot of brands, but PRS is, like I said, like Taylor. It's just something about that. Got a Martin Porter said, hey, Phil, I need a clean blues amp for Strat for home recording, quiet rehearsal. Is the Blues Deluxe with an attenuator the best bet for under $1,000? Yes. I think so. For $1,000, it's a good way to go. I don't really think you need an attenuator on the Blues Deluxe. You know, the clean is going to be fine at any volume level, so there's not a problem there. But you can attenuate it for sure. Me personally, I would run, like I said, some kind of EQ through the effects loop. Or I did a video where shows you how to change out the 12AX7 to a 12AT7. It'll warm up the amp a little bit. You know, in other words, take some of the brights off, but you can push that back with the bright, but it will mellow the amp out. So, and if you're really concerned about the Blues Deluxe being too much power, there's always the Blues Junior, although the Blues Deluxe sounds a lot fuller and bigger for sure. So Yeah, but yeah, no, that's a good way to go, man. I can't fault that. That's definitely one of the go-to kind of amps out there for sure. So Justin Mabe, hey Justin, what's up, buddy? Says, hey Phil, where is John Wayne head at? I need a throwback. He's actually over here. Let me do it. He's actually right there. So there you go. So yes, that's a throwback. You know, I kind of did it fast. I feel kind of bad. There he is right there. He's there. There's my new Warwick bass too. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know what that's about, originally in the videos when I started, because they were in my bedroom, I have a John Wayne statue in there, but now it's in my office. And it was my dad's. I bought it for my father when I was like 12. And when he passed away, that's what I kept. So if you are my age, you will understand what I am talking about. Or ish, if you're my age-ish. And if you're older than me, then I don't have to tell you, you already know. There is just something about American men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's like John Wayne is like, you know, that's the guy. Like they just watch John Wayne movies. I've seen every John Wayne movie twice. I sometimes jokingly say against my will. So, so obviously, yeah. So everybody's dad was like is a John Wayne fan for some reason in that age group. So my dad was a huge John Wayne fan. And believe it or not, I actually, when I was in high school, I worked at Old Tucson Studios down in Tucson, Arizona, as a gopher. And I don't know if you know what that means, but literally it means they go for this, and you would run, right? And so that's what you did all day. You wore a hat and, you know, some stupid cowboy looking shirt, and they'd be like, go get ice. And you would bring a 20-pound bag of ice across the park. And it's, if you're not familiar with Old Tucson Studios, it's where they filmed a lot of those old Westerns, man. The only downfall is, and this is why it's all nostalgic for me, is after I stopped working there a few years later, when I was in the Army and I was in Maryland, it burnt down. And there was rumors that it was arson and all this stuff, but it doesn't matter. The important part is that they never rebuilt it the same. So it was just kind of a thing. I'm just sharing the story. Blues Bunker says, need more men like John Wayne today. Yeah, you know, there's, you know, it's one of those, it's good and bad kind of things. I know he's got some negatives, you know, he's got controversy and stuff. I look at him more as a character than as a person. Does it make sense? So, you know, it's just that kind of, you know, cowboy thing. It's the cowboy thing. So, let's see. William says, Phil, do you have any songs you've written, and can you sing a bit of them? I don't sing at all, so I've never written any songs I sing. I've written many songs instrumentally, almost all on bass. I don't think I've ever done an actual guitar song. I've done bass, though, is by far. Maybe I'll have to pull those back out and do that. All right. Oh, James Williams says, budget 8-ohm 50-watt speaker, MG250 DFX pedal for tube. Man, this is, you might, don't super chat it again, James, but if you could send that to me again. I just don't understand the question. It says a budget 8-ohm 50-watt speaker, and I think you're asking for your MG250 so MG250 DFX is a Marshall amp, right? So I think some of the best, well, there's a ton of them. There's warehouse speakers and stuff like that. But the speakers I like for budget is Eminence, man. You can get some good Eminence speakers, really good. 8-ohm 50-watt Eminence speakers. You can get governors. You can get all kinds of stuff for short money, especially used. And what I love about speakers is I honestly feel like they sound better than when they get worked in, right? Even sometimes when they get abused, some people just crank their amps and torture them. They just sometimes just sound better. They're not as tight. They're a little looser sounding. They're just smoother. So to me, nothing better than a used speaker. So man, go on your Craigslist and find a used speaker. And nowadays, man, what I keep seeing everybody doing is you need 8 ohms, so that won't help. But usually buying a 412 cabinet dirt cheap and gutting the speakers out of that. But don't be afraid to buy a speaker box if you can get it cheaper than a speaker. You know what I mean? With the speaker in it, and take the speakers. But yeah, like I said, and Alex is saying great speakers. Yeah, I mean, there's just those great speakers out there. Yeah, and Jared's saying Phil did a video on how to break in the speaker. I did. So it was nice because Guitar World and Guitar Player shared that video like many times. So I really love breaking in that speaker. In fact, once the speaker is broken in, it's kind of like I just don't want to lose it, right? Yeah, Matt Harrison saying same thing. Yes, Craigslist for cabs all day. One of the great thing about cabinets on Craigslist is most people who are selling cabinets on Craigslist is because they have determined they don't want to ship them. And so that's where you're going to score that deal every time, is contacting somebody and say, hey, they know every time they know they can get more on Reverb and eBay, but it's about the hassle. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier for you to go get it. So speaker cabinets are just a score right now used on Craigslist. I constantly find them. In the last week, I found 2 or 3. I just don't need any, but I was like, man, really great ones. David Gibson said, hey, Phil, can you review Chapman and Schecter basses? Oh, did you see Anderson's Sire Marcus Miller review? Thanks much. No, I didn't see it. I'm going to watch it though. That's the new line of Marcus Miller basses that are affordable. So that'll be interesting. I'm really interested in that. I know Chapman does basses. I love Schecter basses. I've owned many Schecter basses, and I don't know why. Every time I got rid of them, I don't know why I got rid of them. I miss every single one of them I've ever had and got rid of. So they David Kornblatt, I just got to answer it. He says, David Kornblatt says, is this the end of the guitar industry? What a dun, dun, dun. No, no. Think about this. Even if guitar was dead, its carcass is going to remain for a longer than us. That's what I honestly think. I think even if it was dead meaning that there's no youth interested in guitar anymore, it still takes a while for it to die out. So it's not, it's not the end. So, and actually kind of feel like in some ways it's as big as it ever was, just different. So I don't know. And maybe what it is I don't know. As long as, we already know the answer. As long as people buy music with a guitar in it, there'll be guitar. And something to point out, my daughter's really into musicals. So we went and saw The Greatest Entertainer. That musical was great. I recommend that movie if you're into musicals. My favorite movie of all time is The Blues Brothers, which is a musical. So, so anyways, we went and saw it. It was fantastic. And what I noticed was when I was listening to the soundtracks, there's guitars in it, and so, and I think La La Land, another musical, again, that's doing really well. These are hit movies with, they're influencing kids right now. They have guitar in them. So as long as they have a guitar, I just don't think the kids right now care about shredding like Yngwie right now. They're just not as much, but we'll see. Habs 247 says, what neck pickup do you like for death, thrash, power, groove, metal, blues, rock? Thinking the SD Seymour Duncan 59 neck seems to be the versatile one. Well, yes, that would be a very versatile pickup because think about this. The 59 neck pickup is in the Dimebag Darrow guitar. It's in the Nuno Benton Court guitar. It's in exactly what you said. Every genre you just named, there would be a person that I can mention that has that neck pickup in it. So it's a pretty safe rounded neck pickup. In fact, there's a lot of people who don't like the JB in the bridge. And there's people who like it. So that one is polarized, right? I don't say it's 50-50, but it's close. Where the 59 neck is definitely one of those, like, you'll find 6 or 7 out of 10 guitar players that like it. So that's a safe guitar. That's a safe pickup. And it's relatively inexpensive, and you can find it used if you want to as well. I have it in a bunch of my guitars. Yeah, see John saying, hey, the 59 SD is great. Yep, I have it in a bunch of my guitars. No issues for me at all. Okay, Jay Cut says, how can I fix a chip the size of a quarter? Wow, that's a chunk. Okay, so size of a quarter in a black Telecaster. How much would you or an average shop charge to repair like that? Well, that's refinish work. So, and my guess is it's not a lacquer guitar. It's a polyurethane or polyester. So you have to find somebody who does refinish work. So you have to decide. And that's a trick because it depends on your area where you live, right? Where I live, there's one legitimate shop. In other words, they have a physical shop you can go into, and there's probably one or two guys in the area that do refinish work that I would recommend you to if you live local. But I don't know exactly what they would charge, right? That's one of those things where, realistically, you got to go into a shop and hope that they mercy on you and they can give you a decent deal. You know what I mean? It's sometimes they give you the I don't want to do it price, and that's the, $300 and you're like, well, I can get a guitar repainted, because that's the biggest problem with a guitar like a Telecaster or Stratocaster. It's all easy swappable parts. You can buy a black Telecaster body for $200. So if somebody wants $150 to fix your chip, you can just buy a new body. So what I would recommend to you is this is an idea. Instead of having the guitar fixed, you could go to eBay or to just their website, stratosphere.com. It's a parts website. They literally dismantle thousands of Fender guitars and sell the parts. See if you can find, if you have a Squire, if you have a Mexican Telecaster, if an American Telecaster, doesn't matter, find your accommodating body. And if you can find a body for maybe $250, a black Telecaster body or something like that, and with a chip in it, maybe it's still worth $100 to somebody, right? Something like that. So I'm just giving you as a suggestion. You don't have to just have it fixed. You can actually look at doing a body swap, right? Somebody may not, some people don't care if it's chipped, if the price is right. So something to think about that too as an option, especially with something that's easier to swap parts than it is to paint. So, and the other thing too that stinks is that a lot of guys who do refinish work will tell you they would rather paint a guitar from scratch than refinish. So something to think about. John's like, I love a body swap. Yeah, well, there you go. Cool. And then Carl's saying, yeah, he's recommending Stratosphere as well. I've had good luck with Stratosphere. I've bought tons and tons of parts from them. I've never had a bad experience with Stratosphere. And I've never met anybody who has bad experience. So, I mean, if you had one, post it in the comments, please. Let us know if you're not having a good experience with them. But for the most part, fantastic stuff, reasonable price stuff. And there's other sources besides them too if you can't get a better deal. So, so there you go. Okay, well, we're kind of at an hour, but we'll go a little. There's 1,275 of us hanging out, man. So maybe we'll go a little long. So because there's a lot of people, and I appreciate that. And we still have to do the shout out. So we'll do the shout out for everybody who helps the channel. Okay, sorry, a lot of questions popping at once. I'm trying to find. Some of you guys are just responding to each other. It says, okay, here's one from Sean T. Sean T says, hey, Phil, I never get to see you live. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you get to see me live now. He says, wow, 1,200 people watching live? Yeah, that's crazy. That's the highest it's ever been. It's 1,277. It's never been this high before. We've been over 1,000. I think we even crossed 11, but never over 12. Do you think Fender will make a 1-watt range of amps? No. And never say never, right? They could come out tomorrow. But the reason I say no is this is something that I've always been, ever since Marshall did the 1-watt series of amps, that whole series of all their popular amps, I thought, man, what a great thing to do. And when I've asked companies, just curious, all high-end companies, low-end companies, I get this same kind of answer from everybody, whether they have it made overseas in China or if it's built by hand. They all seem to say the same thing. The problem is that transformers and tubes as a whole have kind of set pricing in the idea that, a transformer that's going to work in a 1-watt amp is not considerably a lot less cheaper than the transformer in a 5 or 20-watt amp. Okay. So, and I guess I see their logic. It's kind of like tires on a car, right? The tires get more expensive as they get bigger and stuff, in different sizes, like say cars, truck tires, but they don't triple in price. They just go up in increments, kind of like guitar cables too. 10 foot is just a little less cheap than 20 feet and so on, so on, so. So I get it. They're basically saying it's hard to do that, and that people don't really want to pay a lot of money for a 1-watt amp. Although, funny enough, when they ever say that to me, I always say, well, Marshall did it for $800 and they sold out. So although I don't think people want to pay $800 for a 1-watt amp, there is proof that it happened because Marshall sold out and they're getting $800 used for them now. So there you go. But me personally, I think it's a cool idea, right? So especially I like the idea of 5 watt amps to switch down to 1 watt. So that way you have a little bit more power if you ever need it. Kelvin 1976 says, hey, Phil, best advice for breaking through the guitar playing plateau. And please don't suggest those annoying YouTube ads. Well, you know, I don't know if you know this, Kelvin, but sometimes when you start guitar, it's a little frustrating. I'm just kidding. I was going to do a musician ad just to be funny. No, man, no, you know what? I'll give you the advice that I did a clinic where I was at a clinic with George Lynch. And he said this thing that I thought makes a lot of sense. He says, when you practice too much, you sometimes paint yourself in a corner. In other words, you just kind of feel like you just can't, right. You're like, exactly. You hit a plateau. And he said, what he does is he stops playing guitar. And that seemed silly to me at first, like not like a silly answer, but like a really like, okay, how is not going to playing make? And funny enough, my last time I had a real big plateau where I was like, I just can't get past this. I went on a 2-day vacation, not because of that. It just happened to time up, right? And normally where I would drag a guitar, like I said, I take a guitar everywhere. I just didn't. And when I came back to the house, I was so excited to see a guitar and play guitar that I just was back in it again. So sometimes the best way to get past an issue is to not try to push through it or find new inspiration, but to take a break. So that's a suggestion I give you too as well. If that doesn't work, definitely remember this. Then also listen to other artists, right? Don't worry about lessons. Sometimes if you're practicing is rudimentary, it's like you're just going to keep doing it. At some point, if it's not working, it's not practice. You maybe need a different inspiration. So try something else. In other words, try some other music. That's why I go to concerts. I wish I can synthetically inject into me what concerts do. I go to concerts and I just have never found another way besides being there physically in a concert to feel that excitement for music. I watch them live on Netflix. I watch them live when I buy the DVDs. They're amazing, but man, it's just, there's nothing like being there with real musicians and watching what they do. And it's great for all the right reasons. Sometimes it's frustrating because I see them what looks like effortlessly doing things that I just never been able to do in my life. And they don't even look like they're trying. And then sometimes it's just because, you feel the excitement and the rage. And one of the things I really love too is they tend to do things live that they don't do in the albums, and you just don't notice it until you're there. Okay, Shaman Blues. Oh, Shaman, Shaman, so is like one of my very first subscribers. Shaman's been around since the beginning. I appreciate that, Shaman. So Shaman Blues says, Philip McKnight, your thoughts on the 11 rack? Oh, I've talked about this before. I don't know if they're still for sale on Sweetwater stuff for $350, but you can't beat that thing for $350. I think I'm just saying this because it's just what I feel, and I don't want to upset the Axe Effects guys too on top of that, but I really do feel this way. I don't think it's as good as Axe Effects. So I'm sure that makes the Axe Effects guys happy. But I think it's darn close for price, right? For its price percentage. In other words, if you don't have $200 to $2,500 for 11 or for Axe Effects, 11 rack will get you pretty close. What I do notice is this: there is a huge amount of Axe Effects owners who had 11 racks. So, and they all say the same thing. They like their 11 rack, but the Axe Effects was better. And I find when that's the terminology, and they will also say when they did recordings, they thought the 11 racks did a lot of things right. I have a friend who's recording with 11 racks for years, and his recordings sound fantastic. I got nothing bad to say about 11 rack. So, in fact, I think I almost bought one when they first went on sale. I just talked myself out of it. And the only reason is I don't have any rack gear. So I thought, well, where am I going to put it? Okay. And I want to answer this one. I don't have an answer for it, but Brendan McBride asked it a couple times. I've seen it a couple times. So he says, how do you like the Gibson Dirty Finger pickup? I haven't. I love it. I've had guitars with them in there, and I don't remember thinking anything about them. You know what I mean? Like, wow, or, hey, I hate this. I just remember going, that's the pickup that's in them. Most notably, it was one of the strange, there's a strange shape Gibson. I forgot which one it was, but I did a setup on it. And I remember it had those pickups in it. And the same thing, the guy who had the guitar was like, these are fantastic. But I was playing them through a little rolling cube for the setup, you know, on my bench. So I really couldn't tell you anything about them particularly. So maybe I need to take another look at them. So really good stuff. Well, we're almost at 1,300, 1,290 people. So maybe we should hang out and see if we can break 1,300. You think we should keep going? I don't know. Oh, I just dropped to 1,288. Maybe we shouldn't even say anything. Okay. So wait. Oh, hold on. Somebody's got something funny. Hold on. My favorite is Alex says, I'll pay you later. Question. All right. You don't have to pay me later. Question. Yes, you can see me. Good. AliExpress. You can buy cheap Mooer pedals. Are they any good? The Mooer pedals I have are okay. I think they're really good pedals. They are nothing has, you know, been like the most blow me away pedals ever. They're really good pedals. I own a bunch of Mooer pedals. And there's a few that I really like more than others. No pun intended. And the ones I like their looper. It's a good looper. I like the radar. That thing's really cool. Some of their preamp pedals, I like some of them. Some of the other preamp pedals are okay. But what's great about them is they're one of those companies, again, that for the price, the product is it's fine. Like there's nothing in that price range that says, yeah, this is not a good product. Everything is good for the price. Just some of it is actually better. One of the ones that the E-Lady flanger is one of my favorite flangers, probably period. I would put it in my top 3 flanger pedals. So that says a lot about their product. So Thomas says, hey, you love locking tuners. Do you also change out nuts to Tusq or bone? Depends on the guitar, believe it or not. But Tusq is easy because they usually make prefab nuts that fit in most guitar situations. So I have them all and I just drop them in and just shape them as I need. Bone, I always have to cut from scratch. And for customers, I'll just say bone a lot of times just because I think it's a slightly better material and it's easier, you know, or it's not easier. It's just a slightly better material and it's easier on the strings. It glides a little better than Tusq, I think, in my personal experience is. But for me personally, I sometimes will go the lazier route because Tusq is preform and I can go with it. But there is no downside to Tusq over bone. Just I prefer bone over Tusq, and I think I prefer graphite over bone. So, and a lot of my guitars that have bone is just because aesthetically it looks better with that color than the black Tusq nut. So, let's see. Carl Larson says, know your gear. I thought it was about steroids. Well, obviously I'm not taking steroids. And if I am, I'm taking either the wrong ones or I'm doing it wrong. Okay. We hit 1,300, by the way. There's 1,305 people. 1,306. Yeah, it was 1,306. That's the record high for the channel, everybody. Just to let you guys know. 1,300. And for that, we'll do a couple more minutes and we'll bonus round this stuff for you guys all hanging out. I really appreciate it. It's like I said, it's fun. So I don't have to be anywhere if you don't have to be anywhere. Here's a good question. Fuddy Duddy 99 says, hey, how do you feel about Gretsch Electromatic pickups? In my blue Gretsch, I have the pickups and I constantly was saying, you know, I like them. However, this week I was A/Bing against my Japanese made Pro Series with the TV Joneses in it, and the TV Joneses really are nicer. So to answer your question, there's nothing wrong with the Electromatic pickups that I found. I like them, but definitely if you A/B them to TV Jones, there's an improvement there. There's a little bit more highs. They're more Gretsch sounding, if that's even a thing that you could say. Here's my question to you: if you like the pickups, I think you're on the right track. Me personally, I think they sound very Gretsch-like, but not as Gretsch-like as Filtertrons and TV Joneses, but definitely good pickups. I think they did a good job. Okay. Oh, okay. Question was, did you review the Marshall DSL amps? Just bought the 40 and I'm in love with it. That's Julian. I have not. I have the 1 watt. I've got the review. It's done. Again, I think that's the next one I'm going to pop out, the next review. And so I'll have that review of that. I liked it. I didn't love it. And you'll see in the review what I said, which is basically, I think the 20 and the 40 might have been a smarter move. So you know, I think the 1 watt is great. I thought I was using it at the logic of for a late night practice amp and recording would be great. But I think the features that it's missing off of what the other ones have, I think I was better off just going with the 20 watt or the 40 watt. Oh, Bruce says, hey, how do you fix a Les Paul that's constantly out of tune? Well, what you'll notice in most cases on a guitar like that is that when you say out of tune, first thing you have to do is tune the guitar up and then play it, right? Strum it, power chords, whatever you do. And then when it's out of tune, don't just start tuning it. Pay attention to what strings were in tune and what strings are not in tune. And generally speaking, on guitars like that, it will probably be the D and the G strings that are out of tune, and hopefully none of the others. The other 4 stay consistent. If that's the case, that's normal. And so you just got to make sure the nut is cut right. And the best thing to do is with the guitar is like that, is there's super easy system, right? Don't worry about repairing it. Worry about diagnosing it. So what you want to do is tune the guitar up, play it. When it's out of tune, check what guitar strings are out of tune. The ones that are out of tune, what I want you to do is use some kind of lubricant, whether it's a pencil, you can use pencil, right? Or you can use Big Ben's Nut Sauce or Lubricant by Addario. Anything like that. Put that in the slots and that are out of the strings are out of tune, tune it back up, and then play it. And here's what you're looking for. If it stays in tune, great. And if it goes out of tune, but if you notice it's less dramatic, like let's say it was going a half step or a whole step down below, and now it's going less out of tune than that. Let's say if it was a half step or a whole step, now it's going a whole, God. Let's say it was going a whole step down, now it's only a half step, right? So in other words, you reduce the problem, then you know it's the nut. And so you'll just need to make sure that gets corrected. At that case, you'd want to take it to somebody who can file the nut slots for you perfectly, or you need to learn to do that yourself. Either way, that's going to be the issue. And that's really a common thing. And on Les Pauls, another problem sometimes is the nuts slots are cut too deep. And that's a big problem. If you notice a lot of Les Pauls, when you look at them, the strings look like they're riding right on top of the nut. They're just trying to minimize contact. Keep in mind, they want as little contact as possible. There's a reason why frets are also kind of rounded over, right? It's because you want the contact with the string to be on as smallest point as possible, right? So same with the nut. You want that point to be as small as possible. You don't want deep, big grooves in there with the content because it's just going to bind up and cause problems. So that's what I would recommend doing for that. Okay. So, okay, Jared Briggs says, hey, Phil, how did you get your comfortable guitar price point? I played a 57 Gold Top and loved it. Yeah, I can tell you exactly how it happened. So Joe Zahn, that owns Zahn basses, I once bought a custom Zahn bass from him, and it was my dream instrument. I guess I could say that a lot of instruments, but in this case, it was like, wow, I can't believe I bought this. And I actually bought it at dealer cost. And at dealer cost, it was the most expensive instrument I ever bought in my life. And what happened was I started noticing that the instrument wasn't bringing me joy. Like I wasn't showing it to people. I wasn't picking it up and playing it. I was putting it back in the case. I was coddling it. And after time, what I realized was I didn't feel comfortable owning it. What I worried about constantly was if it got nicked, the instrument, was going to be worth half of what I paid, and that just the amount of money I would lose. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter what I lose because I'm going to keep it, right? I love it. I'm going to keep it forever. And I don't know what it was. There's just something about that just didn't make me feel comfortable. So that's what I kind of learned. You know what I mean? Is that when I say I'm a collector of guitars, I collect them because I enjoy them, but I play them. You know what I mean? That the Framus it's got a nick in it already. I nicked it because I'm playing it. I dragged it everywhere. I took it to Reno. I took it to California. I drag it everywhere. And I would, and if I would have paid the crazy price for it, I know what I would have done. I would have put it in a glass case and left it alone. And I was okay to do that because it commemorated an experience that I wanted to kind of remember for a long time. But that's where that comfort zone thing came from. So, okay. All right. Anything else? Any more? Yeah, Matt's saying it's too nice to enjoy properly. Yeah, that would be that's the exact feeling of it. The really truth is, what I came to the conclusion was I can't afford it. That's what that means to me. If I'm worried about it, then it's probably because I can't afford it. And I push myself too far. So, William says, it's a good question, believe it or not, because it's something I'm sure a lot of people talk about. It says, hey, Phil, do you name any of your guitars? And if so, which ones? I don't really name the guitars. The interesting story, of course, is naming guitars became really famous because of Lucille, which is B.B. King. And he named the guitar. If you don't know the story, it's a funny story to Wikipedia. B.B. King named his guitar Lucille because when he was young and he was playing the club, two men got in a fight and knocked over a candle, and apparently the bar caught fire and he had to leave the bar. Everybody ran out of the bar, and when he was outside watching the bar on fire, B.B. King realized that he needed his guitar to play tomorrow if he wanted to make money, and he ran in and grabbed his guitar, and I guess he got burned, right? He got hurt. And so the next day when he went to the bar owner to collect his money, the bar owner's like, well, I'm not paying you. And he said, well, what was that all about? And he goes, well, they were fighting over the waitress, Lucille. So he said he named the guitar Lucille to remind himself never to do anything that dumb again. That's his story. Of course, I'm sure, you can go out there and find different stories, but that's the one that there's a video somewhere, B.B. King saying the story. But naming the guitars, no, you know what it is? I tried to do it a couple times. I'm like, I'm gonna name this one this, and I'm gonna name this one this. And no, you know what it is? You just run out of desire to do that for me. So that's why I didn't do it. But I know tons of people who do it, right? You know what I notice? The thing I've noticed that's the most interesting is I notice a lot of people who have names to guitars. It's not the guitar player that names them; it's their family members name them. Like, so a lot of men that I know, their wives name their guitars, and a lot of women I know, their husband named the guitars. But it's just a thing, right? So, Guitar Hack says my guitars are all named Bob. That's probably confusing for them. So, yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Yeah, number one. So I'm trying to think right now if I have any guitars where I have a physical name. I can't even think one where they're behind me, they're named. The Guitar Hangout says, Phil, what do you think of the SQ Squires? I know I have a Squire coming, the new Contemporary Series Squire. I have one of those coming. I'm very excited about that because it's a 12-inch radius fretboard, and it's just got a painted headstock, a lot of cool stuff. So I'm very excited about that guitar, and that's coming on its way soon. Okay, Cole Bowman says, what do you think of the S2 PRS single cut over the S2 single cut standard? So I have the S2 single cut hollow body, semi-hollow. That's the black one behind me. And I like the single cut standard, but I'm not really a big fan of the unfinished body. I like it, but I like the finish. Some people, it's the opposite of me. Some people don't like the painted ones because they're like plasticky because they got that candy coated finish on them. To me, PRSs just have a kind of a plasticky kind of neck feel that I like. You know what I mean? I like it's like gloss, paint. So I prefer it over that. But I like the S2 single cut standard a lot. It's just really kind of cool, right? And we're going to probably call it. Before I do a couple more questions, I just want to do this real quick because I didn't do it. And I wanted to say, as always, I want to thank everyone who, obviously, as we always do, right now, check this out. There we go. I want to thank all the guys and the gals that make this happen, man. You know, Bradulus and Jeff Howes and Zachary Rowe and Michael Newman. You guys are great. Bruce Garris. Hannah Gunson's got a channel. He wears a ski mask like Jason. You know, the Friday 13th. It's kind of crazy videos. Check it out. John Jackson, Michael Shy, Justin Mabe, and David Madison. He's got a channel too. So check out his. Lawrence Petros. Everybody knows his pedals, man. They've been hanging with me for a while. James Biles, Robert Brooks, Tim Camacho, Robert Hodges, Steve Penna, Paul, I can't even say the last name, Michael Lidner, Joe Watson. I'm going to learn your name, Paul. Brent Odell, and Gregor too. I got to figure out your name. Gregor was the guy who won. He had the Chapman guitar that won on the Sharpen My Axe video. So, you know, so thank you for he kind of became a patron after that video. So thank you. Bob Pickwood, Tim, John Leavitt, Space Jazz, Pedal Pal Effects, because we love their pedals. Ricky Robinson, Chuck Keene, Chris Glaze, Dylan 87, and Russ at Taurus Pedals, and of course everyone else. I just want to say thank you because you know, you guys make this happen. I appreciate that. It's great. So as always, and we'll end with, like, let's say 2 questions, and then we'll call it. Because we went 30 minutes over, but for the amount of people we're on today, we should do that. So let's see. So somebody said, see, I don't understand. I will tell you one more time, guys. If I don't answer your question, you got to repost it. Because somebody said, Phil, absolutely raging that Helix made his collection obsolete. I can tell you right now, nothing makes me rage. So I have real problems in the real world. Nothing in the gear world is real to me. I hope it's not real to you either. If you guys aren't enjoying this, you guys are doing it wrong. There's real problems out there in the world to worry about. Says refuser to answer question. Sad. Yeah, sorry, buddy. You got to re-ask the question a couple times over. There was 1,300 people posting stuff. So, but to answer your question about the Helix, if the question is what I think about it, I like the Helix. It's cool. I like it like the Axe effects. I just don't want to program anything right now. So, and the main reason is, and maybe this will help you guys with the Axe effects and the Kempers and stuff. I collect pedals because I enjoy checking them out and seeing what, you know, they all do. And there's interesting things about them. And there's a few pedals that I like to play a lot. You know, 'cause they're interesting, but 90% of the time when I play, I don't play with any pedals at all. So, I usually play the amps. So if I want a Fender amp, I play a Fender amp. If I want a Marshall sound, I play my Marshall. If I want a Mesa sound, I play my Mesa. You know, that's kind of what I do. So if I want a 5150 sound, I play my EVH. So I play the amps I have, and then, you know, the pedals are just something cool to mess with and have fun with. And a lot of times it's nice to build up a little pedal board and put it in front of a Fender amp and have a good tone. But yeah, that's why a multi-processing unit that does all this, yeah, I understand it's great, except for, yeah, somebody said Supros are great. I have a Supro as well. But I mostly play clean. So I play like my Fender Princeton a lot because I just play clean. So, so he says, hey, Phil, I didn't know you worked at the Fender Custom Shop. I don't, but I have a cool Fender Custom Shop shirt. I bought this shirt a couple years ago. For a while, I used to have pretty much nothing but a Fender wardrobe because I'd buy everything with Fender logos on it just because I was like Harley Davidson stuff. I thought it was cool. So William says, hey, Phil, how can I become a patron? I'll put a link William, you can go to the Patreon site or you can go to my website. There's a Patreon link if you'd like to do that. Check it out, and it's up to you. Again, like I said, I appreciate anybody you guys doing that stuff. And so there is... All right. I think that's it for questions, right? Fender Lover 83 says, do you own a Parts-A-Caster? Is it worth selling it? I have owned Parts-A-Casters, and one of the most, I had a Parts-A-Caster that I once dumped over $1,000 to, and I got $300 for it. That I think is normal. So, you know, Parts-A-Casters are great. You can build a custom guitar out of parts and have a fantastic guitar and save a fortune. You save a fortune until you sell it. So don't sell it. So if you can do that, that's the plan. All right. Let's see. Glenn says, did you realize your phone number and address are on the live stream? Yeah. Did you know they're on my website? So, yeah. So, yeah, I understand. I own businesses, and when you own businesses, unfortunately, everything you have is kind of public. So, all right. On that note, okay, I think we're good. I think it was a good hang. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Thank you guys again for hanging out with me. So it was awesome. We'll be doing this again next week, of course, next Friday, same time, same channel. Hopefully look forward to some videos coming out. I got some videos that I should be uploading. I will finish editing one today. So I don't think I'll put it out today. I think I'll put it out for tomorrow. So other than that, I'll see you guys soon. And as always, thank you, and know your gear.